Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joy Division with another ranked match, and this time I have the pleasure of being Crimea Militant. This is one of the absolute best combinations in the game, and it just so happens that the only combination I consider to be better is also in this game. So our neighbor up in the top right is Scythe Innovative. That is the player we're going to have to watch out for. It's the only combination that has a chance of stopping us. Crimea Militant is incredibly high scoring and incredibly fast. It's one of the most brutal things to encounter in competitive Scythe gameplay. So, a little bit of background on why it's so good. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll be able to see my board and my 4 top row actions. From left to right, they're bolster, move, produce, and trade. If you look at move, it's right over deploy mech. Deploying a mech yields me 3 coins and even a 4th if I have that enlistment bonus ready. So I'm able to move around, which is absolutely like the strongest action you can do as a Scythe player, while also producing or deploying mechs, which makes my move even more powerful. It yields me a lot of money. I can pick up territories. I can initiate combat. It's just an extremely overpowered mechanic. The other reason this is so good is I can trade to enlist, and Crimea with coercion has really early access to those enlists because you can get enough resource in a single turn. Already with just 1 combat card, I can go from not having any food to enlisting, which gives me very high speed of play and access to enlistments, which is a overpowered mechanic in itself. Getting bonuses for your neighbor's actions is very underrated in this game. Alright, so the game plan here. I want to get a worker star, my mech star, my enlistment star. Then I want to make sure I have 1 objective that I can do and 2 combats available to me. So looking at my objectives, I have Shore Up the Shore and Tactical Mastery. They're both doable, but they're both a little difficult. Tactical Mastery requires that I have a lot of extra combat cards, and that's going to largely depend on what my neighbors do. I know Scythe Innovative is a board that enlists 4 times, so I have potential here. But if Saxony enlists 0 times, there's a very small chance that I make it to 8 combat cards. Shore Up the Shore, on the other hand, if my opponents don't move very much, I really won't have anyone in the way of me completing that. If they do move around a bit, it could be a little tricky. I already know that I'm going to get my character and my mechs out to the factory as soon as I can. This board has the potential to win in like 13-14 rounds, but depending on what fights I have in reach, I might have to take a little longer, go for an upgrade, just control territory. So I feel really good about my position. I'm more or less just going to be keeping my eye on Scythe so that I don't get caught out of rhythm. The reason Scythe Innovative has the edge in a game like this is that Relentless allows them to move repeatedly. So if you could imagine like a one-on-one game between Scythe and myself, not having your move on cooldown is a huge advantage. So you have like 2 rounds to exploit someone's position versus everyone else in this game has to alternate actions. They have to move, then do something else, then move, then do something else. I'm going to try my best to mitigate this by getting a factory card that I like and one that helps me keep my lead. So you can expect that I'll have a lot of coins and a lot of movement this game. It's going to be pretty exciting. Looking around, I already feel pretty good about what I see. Saxony didn't build any mechs, and as a Crimea player, you always want to keep your eye on Saxony. An aggressive rush attempt could mean them entering your base and really slowing you down. So that's not going to happen so far. It's already round 5 and he has 0 mechs. Polania there does have 1 mech, and that's okay as long as they don't have 2 in a factory card. I don't have to worry about them. So I made my first move here. I'm gonna build a mech, and I decide to hold off on using coercion because I know I'm gonna need to spend a combat card on my upcoming turn here, and I'd rather not spend my 4. So I'm gonna save the 2 for next time, because I know that to enlist I'm gonna need to spend a card. Ooh, I pick up a 5. That's great. You really want at least 1 5 as a like a safeguard to make sure you can beat an opponent who has 7 or more power. And just looking at where things are now, it looks like Polania and Saxony are going to be sitting at high power this game. Alright, so if I'm thinking about what they're going to do, it looks like the player to my left plans on upgrading and enlisting a fair amount of times, which is great news for me. I think those bonuses are really going to come in handy, and they might even make it possible for me to complete one of my objectives. Rather than surrounding a lake, I can just win a fight and have a lot of cards, which is preferred. I'm not neighbors with Polania, so I don't really care what they're up to, but it is going to affect my primary opponent, Rusviet. It's going to affect their position in this game, so it's good to know. The main danger when competing against Rusviet is People's Army. I have to make sure that when I do pick my fights, I try to limit the amount of workers that are available. So I want to try to catch a mech by itself or a character by itself. I don't want to get into situations where they get to throw extra combat cards, and even if I win, I lose popularity. I don't plan on being in tier 2, but you never know what the objective is going to be, and I'm already at 3 pop anyway without that enlistment bonus, so it's definitely possible. So flying along here, I maxed out my workers because I only plan on producing 1 more time, and that final produce is going to give me enough metal for my mech star. And with trade being over enlist, I'm already efficient enough to max that out without another produce anyway. The one thing I'll have to consider eventually is whether or not I want to upgrade. And that's going to be like pretty much any time you play Crimea Militant, that's like the one major decision you have to make, besides of course like where you move and how you fight, is whether or not you want to upgrade. The perfect encounter would be an upgrade. There aren't too many of those available in the game, and I didn't find one here, but I got some power and some pop, so that's nice. But like I was saying, the main decision you have to make is whether or not you're going to upgrade, and depending on how fast Rusviet plays, I might not have time. So to me, it looks like I will have the opportunity to do so, and getting that max out move, so being able to move 3 units around instead of 2 units around, is pretty vital to my success here. So it's nice I have the luxury of being able to bolster if I choose to. Quick recap of my position here. I've got 15 coins, 5 pop, 8 power, and it is round 9. I like my combat cards. I've got 2 4s and a 5, so I feel pretty good about that. And I know I'll be having a Scout here soon, which is a huge weapon that I can utilize to my advantage. Being able to control the card count of your opponents is a like really fun mental mechanic that you get to apply to this game that I thoroughly enjoy. I don't know if I will be interacting with Polania or Saxony this game, but looking at Rusviet's card count, they only have 4. So even with People's Army, like they're not going to be able to interact with me that many times and survive. Because even if they try to outnumber me in cards, they can only do that 1 to 2 times before they're risking having 0 cards, which is a huge disadvantage. But again, the one thing that they have on their side is Relentless, and that's going to be hard for me to counteract without a factory card. So I'm going to set up right now to make sure I can secure the factory on my next move. And what you'll see me do here is I pick up this encounter card, more power and pop. I guess that's a bit lucky. I've gotten power twice now. I am on their village tunnel. So I know that Rustviet would like to move to the tunnel and escape to the rest of the map. I'm gonna purposely put 3 workers there so that if they want to get out, they're going to have to remain in tier 1 popularity, which, should I get to 7 pop, will be a big like swing in my favor. So blocking their tunnel is like definitely an intentional move, and you'll see that it sets me up nice to complete my shore up the shore objective, which is to surround a lake by 5 territories. So right now I can attack the factory from both sides to also complete my objective. I have 3 mechs now. I also have 3 enlists. So the way the turn is going to go, I'm going to enlist on my upcoming turn here. It'll be round 12, I believe. That'll finish that first star. And now I'm set up. Oh, okay. Yeah, nice. I'm able to actually pick up oil and still enlist, which is a testament to like how broken Crimea is sometimes with coercion. But I'm thinking I might actually bolster here if I don't feel any pressure from a moving standpoint. Because let's say I move right away when it's my next turn. Perhaps that puts me in a bad position for Rustviet to move on me twice. So I sometimes want to save my move so that I can use it after Rustviet moves. Let's see what they end up doing here. So if I'm Rustviet, I maybe want to build 1 more mech, but I'm also thinking about moving. Okay, they decide to move. I wonder if they'll come get me. They're going to village. Okay, so they'll plan to produce and max out their workers. I think based on what they just did with their villagers, I'm gonna wait 1 more turn because they're kind of trapped in their base right now. They can't move without moving into me, and I'm very okay with that. This is more of a trap than like a fight I would plan on winning if you're looking at that village tunnel right there. Okay, good. Yeah, we'd like to see 1 more 5, but I think we like our cards. I'm just gonna upgrade my move so that when I do decide to move, I can move 3 characters instead of just 2. So I'll bolster here. I don't really need the power, but it's nice to have. And upgrading my deploy to only 2 costs can just help me get some more coins should the game go long. A huge advantage of having the Militant board is you can move and also make a lot of money. So while you're picking up territories, while you're fighting, you're also getting a lot of coin, and that's like my favorite part about this board for sure. Okay, so you'll notice we're at 7 popularity. That means if we can, we're gonna try to avoid fighting with workers. However, knowing that Rustviet's our opponent, we probably won't have that choice because they'll likely stick their workers with their mechs to take advantage of people's army. I do really like my spot though. I plan on just going to the factory and completing an objective and building a mech in a single turn. And I'm okay like not fighting anybody right now. I'm fine sitting there and protecting my position, because really the only way that I lose this game is if I get blasted to pieces on the factory and then have a hard time getting back out into the playing fields because I got sent home. So you'll see me kind of surround the place and get a factory card at the same time. I don't really need anything, but since I'm at 13 power, it's pretty tempting to take that card all the way on the right. I end up going, I think I'm gonna take that. Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong. There's a lot of outs for me here. Like, I can get combats, or I could potentially get a power star. So I'm in a great position. I've got 4 combat units on the factory and nobody besides Rustviet who's able to mount an assault, but I have far more power than he does right now. So yeah, 25 coins, which is pretty bonkers, and I have dominant control of the center board at round 14. If there was more interaction for me, like let's say a lot of players had made their ways to the tunnels, the game could be over by now. So I could have seen a combat or two while finishing my mech and my objective like that, which is a pretty scary thought. Okay, so this is interesting. We actually can, okay, my worker gets knocked home. Rusviet's on the village tunnel. He then goes to the encounter spot, brings a mech with him. I have a couple ways I could go about this. I could use my factory card and try to enter his base. I could also just fight him on the tunnel. I'm leaning towards getting that done, but I'm actually gonna Wayfare and spread out at the same time, because you see Polania is all the way up there north where I can't reach them. And the rationale I have for this is I don't really care if I lose this fight, so I'm just gonna throw a card and keep myself within the power race, or the power star, and see what they do. If they spend a lot of power, that's great, because I can move next turn and capitalize on that. Okay, so I'm able to get a star from that combat, which is kind of the best case scenario, because now it's really on Rusviet to do something. Like I can bolster to end the game, I can move to end the game. I have a lot of outs right now, so we'll see what they end up doing on their turn. But as far as I'm concerned, this is pretty locked up. There's really no one who can threaten me. I've kind of blocked Saxony off, not that they have that many mechs. Oh, so we see some action on the village tunnel. I'm not sure how this is going to go. It's going to be 2 cards versus 1. Oh, wow. Okay. So that's game. Rusviet threw everything. Saxony threw everything. And now there's nobody who can stand up to me. The question will be, do I want to move and attack to win, or do I want to just bolster for power to win? I mean, this would be silly if it happened, but if Rusviet upgrades right now, I don't even get to play a turn. The game will be over. So I doubt they'll do that. I'm guessing they're going to want to move to get up as much, like, eat up as much territory as they can. So once we see what they do, we'll know how to proceed. Okay. So even now, like, the coins are almost identical, 26 to 27. Very, very like well-matched board combinations between Rusviet and myself. They decide to move to the tunnels, and they knock one of my workers. I can actually engage them on the tunnel and stay in tier 2 pop. Not a fan of my workers being sent home, but it doesn't really matter. So I think that should be it. And that's gonna be GG. Okay. Oh, he got an objective too. Wow. Yeah, so I'm just gonna do my regular move because I can get a ton of like territory while also finishing the game out. They don't have power, so I only need 1 mech to win. I can use my other moves to get more territory. So 5 and 5 equals 10. That should be game. All right. Definitely a top tier board, no question about it. It's one of my favorites. I think it is, like, out of all 49 combinations, this is number 2 in my opinion. So extremely strong, and it's fun to play. Very fast, very rich. Happen to get tier 2 pop, so the score is going to be absolutely massive. Hopefully this was fun for you to see. I'll try to keep making videos, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks, and see you next time.